it's Lee from coloringqueen.net, and today I've got the English imprint of The Other Side of the Dream. Now, this is Karolina Kubikowska's first colouring book, now in an English edition. For years, the original Polish edition of this book has been incredibly difficult to get. It came out many years ago, all in Polish, and everyone, of course, then discovered Karolina, and the book was just hard to get. But now her publisher has been working really hard for a long time to get an English edition out, and it was released a month or so ago. So this is it up against the original Polish edition. And you can see that as compared to the original softcover edition, this one has a hardback and it has a lovely metallic type cover on it, which is really beautiful. You can see the gold gilding there on the side of the spine, and you can see them compared to each other and how it compares to Joanna Basford's colouring book sizing, sort of about 2 centimetres smaller around the side there. Now the hardback is really nice and it fits really well in my shelf, and I can put it with all my other hardback books without damaging the cover. Inside, a new addition to this book is the black protective paper, which is at the front and the back of the book. And that's really good to protect it from your grubby little fingers when you're going through it. Just like in the original, there is coloured and toned coloured printing throughout the colouring book. Now, the paper in this book is, I think it's 150 GSM, and it's a smooth paper, but it's not exactly white because it's been printed so that it has like a textured look of paper to it, or watercolour paper, or like a weave, and so when you look at it closely it's got this different variation on the paper. So even though it's a smooth white paper to start with, it has this little texture underlying it, which is really nice. In some of the images you'll see it a little bit more than in others, but it is really beautiful. And there's all these gorgeous little toned pages throughout it, just like in the original. But now I can actually finally read what they say. And as usual, Karolina's art is quite dark, and that really hasn't changed much. But what they've done is sort of taken the opportunity to do like a new colouring book. They've reformatted the images and moved elements around so that they're a lot more user-friendly to colorists. So some things might be different. Single pages might have elements moved, you know, to the left or the right or away from the colouring ditch, or double page spreads might have been turned into single page spreads. Now there are 4 new images in this book which are all gorgeous. One is the cover of the colouring book, that beautiful crystal image. Another one is a gorgeous girl with a butterfly, and another one is like a cabin. And there's been some sort of rearrangements of the flower type images in the book. I went through them all side by side, and to be honest, because they've sort of created a new book, it was really hard to keep track of what's new and what's been rearranged, and I got lost in the art anyway. Now, as well as all of that, you also get that gorgeous little colouring card that I showed you right at the beginning of the video, and it's got that cute little cat on the one side and an image that you can colour on the other side, so if you can bear to part with it. But aren't these illustrations absolutely beautiful? I think the whole new layout that they've done, and moving a lot of the images away from the spine, even though there are some double page spreads, because it's a sewn stitched binding, it will fold down flatter when it's used a little bit more often than it has been. I've only opened it 2 or 3 times, and so it hasn't had an opportunity for the binding to flatten down, but that sewn binding will flatten down and will make it very easy to colour, as well as the new arrangement of pictures, and I just adore the pictures in this. Of course, I'll never give up my original Polish edition of the book, but for me, this new English one is just gorgeous. The new images, the paper, the hardback, everything. I love everything about it. Now, if you get it from the first link that I'll put below the video, I think you should get a signed copy of it, but check if that's important to you. Now, this image of the little girl here with the butterfly, that's a new one. Isn't it gorgeous? And these coloured pages that are throughout, they were in the original book as well. And I'll leave a link where you can see the original review of the original book. But I really think these are just gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. Now this is another new page, which is the cover art and the coloured version of the artwork. And then we've got that black protective paper at the end and that gorgeous cover. It looks like it's like a metal sheen. It's not really glittery and sparkly and in your face. It's more subtle than that. So it's really lovely. So let's test our mediums on it and see how they perform. So the polychromos are going really well on this paper. They don't feel scratchy, and with just 2 coats they seem to go down really well. It's a really nice paper, this one. Let's try the Prismas. So the Prismas went down very well, but my Caran D'ache blender doesn't seem to be blending them out very well. They probably need another coat. They like a good layering. The Holbein. The Holbeins feel great going down on this paper, and actually out of all 3, the Holbeins are my favourites so far that I've tested. They probably do need a bit more colour though to blend them out properly. The Irojiten. The Irojitens feel a bit scratchy going down, and to be honest, not a lot of pigment was coming out of them. They're not my favourites for this one. But let's see how they blend. Well, now that my blender pencil's taken care of all the hard work, I do like them. My Colleen pencils. So the tooth is wearing down really well with the Colleens. They went on really well, lovely and smooth. Really like this paper. And with the blender, it was just the finishing touch. Obviously, I should have had more colours in that blend, but this is just rough to show you what they look like. And remember, my experiences are probably different from yours. We all colour differently, and we've all got a different technique, and we all hold things a different way. So this is the Lyra. Now on the first layer, they didn't seem to be grabbing the paper as much as I would like. And so I increased the pressure, and that produced a better flow for me. And the Caran D'ache blender has smoothed it out. Obviously the Lyra blender might work better with the Lyra pencils, but the Caran D'ache blender is my preferred blender that I use for pretty well everything. So let's try the Tombow markers. So they go on perfectly. You can use the Tombow markers straight up as a marker, or you can add water with them, or use the Blend Art marker that comes with them in order to blend things together. And there's black on the other page. We can see a slight indent on the black where the water has gone through, but when it dries, I'm sure it'll be fine. The Inktense. No indent on the other side with the Inktense. Don't know why I've written that twice. So the zig markers. Now you can use these zigs straight out of as just the marker, or you can add water like I have. Now I've noticed with the zigs that unlike with the Tombow and the Inktense, that the zigs have lightly peeled on the paper, but I don't think it's much to worry about. Just be careful with the amount of water that you pop on. And we can see that it has indented, they've all indented now on the other side. But when it dries, it should be fine. But as always, do your own testing and don't use too much water, or if you do want to use it, gesso your page first and test it out on something that you don't like as much as the other ones. It's going to be hard finding one of those, and just modify your water. Now you can use a Tombow blender if you're worried about the water. You can use a Tombow blender with the Tombow markers instead of using water, or you can use it with the Inktense as well. You don't need to use water, you can use the marker, but you will use up a lot of marker fluid if you like. And if the cost of replacing those is a concern for you, I have a DIY recipe to make your own on this channel, so I'll pop a link to that if I remember. If not, remind me, or do a search of my channel. Okay, I just wanted to show you what the water-based mediums look like on a page that is white on both sides. So over here I've used the Inktense pencils, here I've used the Tombows, and here I've used the zig. And I'll show you that there is nothing on the other page. So there's no mark, no bleed through, no bumps. And on the page that we coloured earlier, the swatch, just want to show you now that it's dried. There's no indents or anything on the other side of the page. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this swatch on Karolina's gorgeous book. Okay, so that's it from me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.